Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. And if you're new, welcome to my channel. My name's Jackie. And let's get started. For DIY number 1, I am taking one of these wood frames from the Dollar Tree. It's a shadow box. And I'm going to use my heat gun to remove the label because the label is a little bit stubborn. And I'm also using the heat gun to soften up the glue to remove this back panel. So I just go over it a few times, and then with my scraper, I'll just try to pry it open. And I'll just keep working it until it just pops off. And it takes a little bit of finagling, but it'll come off. Just like this. Okay, so I'll work on this piece later to get rid of all that paper. And I'll go ahead and peel all this off and remove all these papers. I definitely don't need them. Okay, so now I'm going to use one of these bandanas from the Dollar Tree. I like that it's like a Buffalo Check style or pattern. So I'm trying to figure out how much I need, and I'm going to go in with some of the Dishwasher Safe Mod Podge, and I'm going to go ahead and just coat it really well, just really saturate it as much as possible. The more the better on Mod Podge for fabrics. So once I place my bandana where I want it, then I'll go ahead and do the same to the top of the fabric. I'll saturate this as well, and I'll make sure to get all the edges like this. So just really work it well and get it all nice and saturated. The more the better, especially around the edges where you're going to cut it later. Okay, I'll set that aside, and now I'm going to work on the frame. And on this frame, all these little pieces of paper, what I did was I just got my little finger sander, and I just sanded off all the extra paper that's on there. And if there's any excess glue, just peel that off. Okay, so now here's my fabric, nice and dry. And when you know that it's nice and stiff and dry, then you know you did a good job with your Mod Podge. So it's easy to just cut. It cuts really easy. And you can use a utility knife too as well, but I just went ahead and just used the scissors since it was like really stiff. So once I get all of this fabric cut off, then I'll go ahead and glue my frame back on. And all I'm going to do is add a few dabs of glue on the corners. I was going to do on the backing, but I decided to just do the frame. So I just added 4 dabs of glue, and I just put my backing back on and pressed it down and held it down until it's dry like this. So now here I have this little house from the Dollar General, and it was $1.50. Super cute. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the label and remove this hanger piece. It's like for holding a card or something, but I really thought this little house was super cute. So all I'm going to do is with my finger sander just kind of rough up some of the edges, so when I add my antique wax later, then it'll receive it better. So I'll just go ahead and do that. And now it's just as simple as taking some hot glue, and I'm going to glue this little house to the inside of my shadow box, and it fits in there perfectly. Look at that. So cute. And a little bow that I had on hand, and look, oh my goodness, so cute. But I need some more embellishments, so I'm going to take some of these Greenery Pot picks, and I'm going to cut it down and add it to my frame just to embellish it a little bit. So I'm going to cut one piece in half, glue one piece of the greenery to one side of the house, and glue the other piece of the greenery to the other side of the house. And then I also had these tiny little picks left over from another project, and so I went ahead and added those to the bottom part, so that way it looks really full. And just like this, just a little bit of glue here and there. Look at this, so cute. So now I'm going to go in with some of the Waverly Antique Wax, and with my chippy brush, I'm going to add a little bit of distressing to the frame itself, and I'll do the edges and the sides. And then of course I'll do a little bit on the house, of course, and especially where I sanded on the very sides. So give it all that distressed look, just so it won't look so new. And total price for this everyday farmhouse DIY was about $4. I think it's super cute. What do you guys think? For DIY number 2, I am taking this arch window from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to utilize this scrap piece of black Foamcore board that I had used for a previous project, and I'm taking my little X-Acto knife and I'm going to cut out the form of this arch window to give it a backing. And like this, just take my time and cut it all the way around until it looks like this. So now I'm going to go back in with some more of the Mod Podge, and this is the dishwasher one again. I really like the dishwasher one when I apply fabric. Not really sure if it's really makes a difference, but it's my preference. It's what I like to do. So I just saturate this piece with the Mod Podge until I get it nice and coated. And now I'll use that same bandana that I had earlier, and I'll just place that on top, another piece, and I'll just set it on there and smooth it out, kind of get it nice and placed. Now when you're working with these patterns, especially with lines, you have to make sure that it's nice and straight, or as straight as possible. And I don't always get it as straight as possible, but I try. The good thing about this one here, if you don't get it perfectly straight, the arch window, the framing of it, the pattern of it, it kind of helps disguise your little oopsies anyway. So it won't. It's forgiving. It's a pretty forgiving project. So again, I'll go in with some more of the Mod Podge, and I'll just saturate this on top and get it really well coated until it looks like this. Set that aside so it'll dry. Again, it'll take half hour or so, maybe. So now I'm going to go ahead and snip off all the excess. And you see on the back where it says cat. I think we used it for some Halloween project or something. I don't remember. You know what? I think it was a game. It was a Halloween game. So anyway, remove all this excess fabric. And I don't remove the bottom here, but I do end up removing the bottom later. So here, look, it looks great. You can't really tell that my lines are not perfect. So it's very forgiving because of the pattern on the arch window. So here I'm going to glue it on there. And don't worry too much about the back. You won't really see it. But I do remove all the excess paper that's on the back. I didn't like that it said cat. I figured I'd just leave it white. So here I'm just going to add a little bit more glue to help adhere it better. Help adhere the foam to the paper. And now it's looking so cute, but I decided to go ahead and remove that piece in the front. And I use my heat gun to help soften the glue to remove that. I don't remove it all completely because I am going to be putting something else on top. So now I have this Home Sweet Home little hanging piece from Dollar General. It's only $1. And I'm going to place this in the center of my little arch window. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to take the hanging jute twine, the little hanger, and I'm going to kind of thread it through the bottom, the underneath, and let the little bead set on top. And then I'm going to adhere this little hanger, this little jute twine hanger, onto the center, and also press down the little sign. So like this, and let the tassel hang down. And there was like a stray little weird tassel piece there, so I just snipped that off. But it's looking cute, super cute. So now I'm going to use this eucalyptus from the Dollar Tree, and I end up cutting all 4, but I only used 2. And now I'm just going to take one and kind of bend it into a kind of a round circular shape, and I'm going to gather them together, the 2 ends, add some hot glue underneath the tassel, place them both there, and then reinforce it with a little bit more hot glue, and place my tassel down on top, press it down so it'll dry and it'll adhere. And so now here I'll just kind of gather the 2 ends, the 2 top ends of the eucalyptus to make like a crisscross shape, and it pretty much stays. And I just go ahead and add a little dab of glue on top to help keep that in place as well. And now here I'm just going to take 2 ends off the other 2. I went ahead and decided to use them, and add a little dab of glue and place it on the bottom just to give it more of a greenery look. And I'll add 1 piece on one side and 1 piece on the other side, like this. And now I'll go in with some of the Waverly Antique Wax to give it that distressed look. And using my little chippy brush, I just go around the sides, all the little edges, and I'll just work it until I get it to look like this. And this everyday farmhouse DIY cost me about $4. What do you guys think? For DIY number 3, I'm taking one of these little galvanized little tabletop decor pieces and removing this label, and had to use my heat gun because it was a little bit tough to remove. Remember, use that heat gun. So now I'm going to take my little mini screwdriver set from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to remove these screws because I want to paint the base. So just remove them one at a time. They come right off. And now I can paint this little base, and I'm going to go in with some of the Waverly chalk paint in the color white. And like this, it's painted. And I'll set that aside, and I'll work on the little galvanized piece. And I'm going to go in with some of this really pretty tissue paper. I really love this tissue paper. I've created quite a few DIYs with this tissue paper, mostly to decorate my craft room. But I love it. I think it's very farmhouse as well. So I'm just going to take a piece that I think will fit perfectly, snip it off, put the rest away for another project, and go in with some of the Mod Podge. This time I'm just using the matte Mod Podge, and I'm just going to place a nice thin coat. On this particular kind of surface, you really don't want to saturate it. Just a nice thin coat, even thin coat will do just fine. And just like this, real thin. Make sure to get all the edges, make sure to get it all smoothed out until it looks like this. So now I'm going to place my piece of tissue paper and just smooth it out with my fingers, trying to focus on the little edges, make sure it's nice and adhered. And I'll set this aside to dry. And this will take about, I don't know, about 30 minutes to dry or so. Once it's dry, I'm going to try to place all these little edges and push them to the back. And I'll snip off all the excess tissue paper. And I don't show it here, but I do end up covering the whole back as well. I just figured I want a finished piece. So here you see me cutting to help push everything back. And I do end up adding the glue on the very back and cover the whole back piece. So it looks like this. And now I just need to snip off the bottom piece, and I want to get it as close as possible without cutting any of the front edges. And now I'm ready to place this back onto my little base. But first, I want to add one of these wood words from the Dollar Tree. They're brand new from Crafter Square, and there's several in this pack. It's really a fall pack, but there's a couple of words on there that are very farmhouse, like blessed and farm fresh. So for this particular one, I'm going to use blessed, and there's an extra little piece of wood where the E is, but I just popped that out. And I'm going to go in with some of the Waverly chalk paint in the color white. And now I'm ready to start assembling my little house. So first I need to place my little house back onto the base, and I just add the 2 little screws on and screw back in with my little mini screwdriver to look like this. So here I'm going to add the blessed word that I painted white, and I'm just going to place some glue and center it on the bottom and glue it down. And then I also had this little wreath that came off one of those love wood words from the Dollar Tree. It's like a decor piece. It was on the O, and I just removed it, and here I'm adding it to my little house. And so now I'm going to take some of this farmhouse ribbon, also from the Dollar Tree, just a little piece, and I'm going to snip off and just create a cute little tiny bow. And I do dovetail the ends as well. Until it looks like this. Super cute. So all I have to do now is glue it to the base of my little wreath, and with some of my Waverly Antique Wax, distress the whole piece. I'll do all the edges of the little house, of the blessed word, and of course the base. And total price for this one was about $3. What do you guys think? For DIY number 4, I'm going to take one of these framed chalkboards from the Dollar Tree, remove the label. I'm going to detach the jute twine, but I will be reusing it. And I'm going to use one of these little words from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to use the word that says farm fresh, and they're made out of wood. So I'm going to take some Waverly chalk paint in the color white, and I'm going to paint all this up like this. And so now I'm going to replace my little jute twine back on, but I'll be placing it the other way. Instead of the knots being on the back, I'm going to place the knots in the front. So this knot will be like this, and then the other knot will be in the front. And I used a little bit of hot glue on the tip of the jute twine so I can thread it easily. So now I'm just going to snip off the excess, and look, looks more farmhouse, I think. Super cute. So now I'm going to take one of these packs of the eucalyptus. I haven't seen them in a while. I did find a couple packs at a couple random stores that I never go to, so they must have been left over, and I thought they were back. I was excited, but I haven't seen them in a while. But anyway, I'm going to take the little wreath part, and I'm going to place it in the center of the chalkboard like this, and just rub it on with my little scraper, and rub until it all gets transferred onto my little chalkboard. And remember, just take your time removing that plastic, and look, it's so cute. So all I have to do now is just add my little wood farm fresh sign and place it in the center of the chalkboard, in the center of the wreath. And look at that. So now I decided to utilize some of the little pieces of eucalyptus that are on this pack. So I take 4 pieces, and I'll add 1 on each corner of this little frame, wood frame, and until it looks like this. And now I'll go in with some of the Waverly Antique Wax, and with my chippy brush I'll get it all nice and distressed, do all the edges, do the words, everything, until it looks like this. And this only cost me about $3 at the most, if that. What do you guys think? For DIY number 5 and my last DIY of the day, I'm just taking one of these candle holders from the Dollar Tree. They're brand new and I love this one because of that gap in the center where my finger is. And so you'll see what we do with that. So now I'm going to take one of these wood rounds, these ornament wood rounds, and I'm going to remove the jute twine. I don't need it, but I'm going to save the jute twine for another project, the little hanger piece. And so now I'm going to take my silicone spatula and place it on the back of the hole, and I'm going to fill in the hole with some hot glue. So I'm just going to fill it all up instead of using spackle, or you can use spackle if you want, or wood filler, but I just decided to use hot glue because I'm going to paint it anyway. You're not going to see it. So here it is, nice and filled. And now I'm going to take some of these half wood rounds that I purchased from Amazon, and I'm going to glue these all around the perimeter of this wood round until it looks like this. And now I'm going to work on the candle holder. And so I had these beads that were strung on a cotton twine, and I'm just going to take enough to go around this middle portion and pull what I don't need and just make a knot and cut it off and secure it with a triple knot. I want to make sure that these don't come apart, and remove the excess. And now I just need to hot glue the wood piece onto the top of my candle holder and paint everything white with my Waverly chalk paint. And when I say paint, I mean really paint. I mean, I got into all the nooks and crannies. If I would have filmed it all, I probably would have been an hour. But yeah, and just like that, look, so cute. And now I just need to go in with some of the Waverly Antique Wax and to give it a good distressing. I might go a little heavy here and there, but I do go back with some of the white chalk paint. I don't show it, but I did do that. And I just keep working it until it looks like this. Everyday farmhouse riser for about $4. What do you guys think? Well, I'd take a moment and thank Missy from Crafty, Cove DIY and Emily from Farm Charm Chic for hosting this monthly challenge. I really enjoyed participating. This is my first time participating. And thank you, Shannon from Shannon's Crafty DIYs, for being the special host this month. And I'm excited to see what everybody else created for this challenge. And don't forget to go to my description box and follow the playlist so you can see what everybody else created. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. I'd really, really appreciate it. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't yet. And until my next video, stay healthy, safe, and strong, and have a great, great day. Bye-bye.